Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Monday morning edition of Stacking the Box. Most of Week 11 is in the books. We got the Battle of Texas to go tonight, but we got a lot to get through. To recap yesterday's NFL action, Chiefs no longer undefeated. Josh Allen MVP favorite. Falcons are the worst team to ever exist in sports history, and more. Sterling, what's up?
Wow, I think you pretty much nailed it. You could throw in for me college football. I'm a Mizzou fan, and yikes. That's all. If you watch the end of that game, that is a big ol' yikes. I have now come to the conclusion that Mizzou is actually now just the Jets. That's what they are. They tease you. You think they're going to be good, and then what happens? They rip your heart out. So I think that's the best comparison. Also, I do want to talk about some positives, though, because the Chargers, I thought that was a stamp of approval on the Chargers season. Pretty much knocking out the Bengals from any sort of playoff contention at this point. Denver gets that massive win. Hard for you, but that keeps their playoff hopes clearly alive and thriving. And then the Steelers. Something has to be said that they're legit. How many times have we been saying, yeah, but are they really legit? Are they really one of the better teams in the AFC, or is it just a mirage? No, they're bleeping legit. It is time to give the Steelers their flowers.
Yeah, so we're going to get through all that for sure. It's hard for me to think past the Falcons, but we're going to get into it. But before we do, Underdog is the best place to cash in on all your takes this football season. Which players are going off? Which ones are ice cold? Make your entries in just a few taps and turn your sports opinions into real money. Join over 5 million fans that are already playing on Underdog. With their pick'em game, you could win money by making entries with your favorite players. Underdog is the best place to play champions, so sign up now and deposit now using promo code Stacking the Box. That is all one word, Stacking the Box, to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. I once again missed by one. Zach Ertz had lower than 3.5 receptions this past Thursday night. He had 2 heading into the final drive. Then he had like 5 receptions on the final drive. Unbelievable.
Download Did you do the flex, though? Did you do the flex?
I did not do flex. Because I think you need at least 4 to do. No, you can with 3. No, I didn't. I got greedy.
Underdog lets you do flex, and if Iain would have done flex, he still would have won. But because Iain is not a great, you're actually a great gambler. You beat me all the time. But because you didn't do it, Underdog tried to help you, Iain. Iain didn't take advantage of one of Underdog's great features.
Don't get greedy like me. I get greedy with those, and it costs me. Take advantage of their flex option, and you would have won if you followed my plays there for Thursday night. But regardless, download the app and use code Stacking the Box to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Higher or lower, you make the call on Underdog. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. Arizona 1-800-NEXT-STEP, which is 1-800-639-8783, or text NEXT STEP to 53342. New York, call the 24/7 Hope line, 1-877-8-HOPE-NY, or text HOPE-NY 467-369. 10P Kids in the chat says Iain looking like a younger Ryan Day today.
It's a good call. And I don't know if that's what you want to be compared to, but it's a good call. You don't have the eyeliner look that he does. I don't know if Ryan Day and Derek Carr, like what that is, that looks like they were perpetually wearing that almost like mascara eyeliner. But besides that, Iain, you do kind of have that. It's almost a compliment to your beard to an extent.
Yeah, I think my stress about what the Falcons is, it's grown in a little bit. So I think I'm going to give another week.
I mean, Ryan Day looks like he does the Brian Wilson, if you remember the pitcher, who would like spray paint his beard black. We're all convinced that Ryan Day spray paints his beard black. But yours is looking good because yours is all natural. So I'm impressed, Iain. 10P, really good comment, Iain. Take the compliment part of that, okay?
Fun fact about eyeliner, I used to actually wear eyeliner. I went through an emo phase in middle school, and I'd wear eyeliner. So maybe I should bring that back.
I went through an emo phase, too. It's not a phase, Iain. It's not a phase.
Right.
Never rocked eyeliner. Ooh. I did dress up as Gene Simmons of Kiss, though. So if you want to say I wore makeup when I dressed up as Gene Simmons, then the answer is yeah.
There you go. Shocking to know. All right. Why don't we actually just start with Sunday Night Football? I didn't put in the outline, Sterling, because I made this before Sunday Night Football, but let's start there. Chargers, an impressive victory over the Bengals. Of course, who had big money on the Bengals? Me. of course. And of course, they can't make a field goal after that huge comeback. But still, impressive win nonetheless for the Chargers. But if I'm going to take a step back, I do think it does kind of show the Chargers defense, while good, their numbers and metrics were a little bit boosted by the fact that they went on a string of playing the worst quarterbacks in the NFL up until last night.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, that's totally fair. But this Chargers team proved to me that when they need to outscore a team, they can. Sure. Not many teams are going to be as well balanced as Detroit, Kansas City, and Buffalo, right? That's like the elite of the elite, okay? Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying the Chargers are there, right? But they outscored a team that has an elite offense and a bad defense. They took advantage of that. I mean, Justin Herbert was slinging the ball. Early on, he was running the football. I was very impressed with Herbert. That was one of the crispest games I feel like we've seen him play. Just the way the ball was coming out of his hand, some of the decision-making. Quentin Johnson has surprised me. I did not think he was going to do anything out of college. I just didn't like his the makeup, and he was not good his rookie year. He's really had a nice, I don't think it's been talked about enough, but a really nice breakout campaign this season. Will Dissly, who was always used as a blocking tight end in Seattle, has turned into a legitimate weapon for Justin Herbert. Ladd McConkey, who I loved coming out of college, I'm already close to ripping his season over for his over on the year was 725 yards, right? Already ripped the over on that, and he's already at like 600 and something. Ladd McConkey has been outstanding. You see why. He perpetually gets open. J.K. Dobbins has been a revelation. Offensive line play, you see why I love the draft pick of Joe Alt. Joe Alt with Rashawn Slater, your bookends, you give Herbert time. They don't have the best weapons. I mean, we're talking about Quentin Johnson, Will Dissly, and Ladd McConkey, but the offense is still humming because, again, the tackles give Herbert time. Harbaugh, obviously, is a great head coach. That much you can do. Anyone who had any questions about what he was going to do once he returned to the NFL, that can be put to rest. I'm just very impressed with this Chargers team. That win showed me a lot and showed me that when things were all going against them, as far as on the field, the Bengals coming back, a furious comeback, they still found a way to dig deep and come away with a victory. Even if those two field goals went in, though, the Chargers still would have won by 1 point.
Yeah, if
everything's equal,
right?
If everything's equal.
Yeah, I do think you have to feel really good as a Chargers fan because in past years, Chargers lose that game 10 times out of 10 after the Bengals make the comeback. So they are able to survive, put together that final last drive to win. So you have to feel good. The Chargers, I think, firmly are probably in that second tier of teams, especially with how polarizing the NFL has been this season, in the sense that it seems like there was the small handful of elite teams, and then it seems like almost everyone else is trash. Chargers are in that kind of lonely second tier of teams that are very clearly playoff teams, but still they're not the Chiefs, they're not the Bills, they're not the Eagles, they're not the Lions.
Yeah, I'm putting them with probably the Ravens now at this point, because the Ravens can't prove they've not proven they can win a big game.
No, and the Ravens' defense is a real issue.
Oh, 100%.
Right.
If you're the Bengals, where do you go from here? Because, I love that comment there. When's the last time you've seen a quarterback and wide receiver play this well and a team be this bad? Because Joe Burrow is playing an MVP-level quarterback. Jamar Chase is looking like and playing like the best wide receiver in football. T. Higgins is playing really good when healthy. I don't know the last time that's a great call. You've seen a quarterback and wide receiver play this well and a team still be this bad.
I don't think. Do you have to go back to the same Bengals, Carson Palmer and Chad Ochocinco?
Yeah.
But listen, this is the past, and it's ironic because now I've been betting on the Bengals and losing. But ever since they went to the Super Bowl, I've been screaming for the mountaintops. The Bengals aren't as good as their record has been, and it's because of this. Because their defense has been this bad. But then in previous years, they find ways to win games because they have a couple things go their way, a penalty here or there, and then they'd end up winning the game. Their defensive metrics are the same as they've been the past handful of years. But now, where all those coin flip games went their way, they're now all going against them. So I'm actually not surprised by what's happening to the Bengals this season.
I'm with you. You and I were kind of on the same page as far as a lot of the underlying metrics screamed regression. I didn't think it would hit this hard. I still thought they would be I think I had them as the 7th seed in the playoffs, so I did see some regression clearly. I think I had them as the 7th seed when we did our playoff predictions, but I didn't see him being, 4-7 now? Is it 4-7 or 4-8? 4-7.
4-7. But
4-7.
Here's the thing of the NFL. There's 17 games in a regular season, and I don't think enough people realize how many games come down to like 2 plays. And before those games that came down to 2 plays, the majority of them would go their way, and now the majority of them are going against them. And even if you have 4 coin flip games go against you, that's the difference between being 10-7 and like 6-11. Like that. And then if you look at a 10-7 team, completely different than you look at a 6-11 team. But those coin flip games can completely change a season. And now they've gone from all of them going for them, and now they're all going against them. Whereas most teams, it's usually you get half go your way, half go against you.
Well, and I think kind of in the chat right there, indicative of their coaching staff, I think a lot of times one-score games, it comes down to coaching staff. I think it comes down to doing the little things. It comes down, it's why the Steelers win a lot of those games, right? Their coaching staff, and they do the little things well. Right. The Chiefs win a lot of close games because their coaching staff, and traditionally they do the little things well. It's why Buffalo, I think, has occasionally struggled compared to what they should be. I don't know how much I trust Sean McDermott. I don't know how well they do the little things. The Bengals, I think, are the perfect example of that. I don't know how many people trust Zach Taylor. They're not a team that traditionally does the little things well. Again, that's what 49ers have been surprising this year because I think the 49ers have a great coaching staff. And I think, again, they're a team that traditionally, I think you point to of doing the little things. Good special teams, fewer dumb penalties than your opponent, fewer drops traditionally. I know last year the Chiefs would not fall in that category. I've just been surprised by the 49ers, but that's a different conversation. But the Bengals, I think you had it first. I kind of agreed with you. There's some regression, but this is still surprising. And it's kind of frustrating if you're a Bengals fan because they went all in this year because they brought back T. Higgins. There's still that concern with Jamar Chase. What's going to happen there? And there was that original unrest with Trey Hendrickson, right? He wanted a new contract. He's having a ridiculously great season this year. Defense is still that bad. You're 4-7. The money is not as liquid as other owners and other teams in the NFL. I don't know where the Bengals really go from here. Like, do you rebuild? Do you just keep plugging along and this time without T. Higgins?
I think if you just fire the coaching staff.
Yeah.
Because as long as you have Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, you're going to have a chance to compete. Fire the coaching staff. Well, because the defense has good players, but they just can't produce. So I think it's a defensive coordinator issue. And then go from there. There was a stat that I saw heading into this last week, which always comes out this time of the NFL season, which is the what if NFL standings. It's NFL standings if you flip every 1-score game, which is not a great indication because a one-score game is a touchdown or less, and a 7-point game is very different from a 2-point game.
8-point games count, by the way.
Do they in this?
Yes, they do.
Yeah. See, and that's because even then it'd be a tie.
That'd be a tie. Yeah.
But it is still kind of interesting. And heading into this week, the Bengals, if you flip all 1-score games, would be in first place in the NFL with 8-2, and then now 9-2 after last night because that'd be flipped too. So, just goes to show. I mean, a lot of games in the NFL could go one way or the other, and the Bengals have been on the wrong side every single time in a close game. Chiefs heading into this week would have been 2-7 last.
Yeah, that was my point. I mean, it's just, but that's why I think it's a silly...
That's why you know, because you saw that and you dug into it. You're like,
right. That's why I think it's a silly conversation because it's like 8 points, even 7 points. Yeah, I think it's I get why people do it. It helps make bad teams. It makes yourself feel better that you're playing close games.
Well, I do think it is interesting. I'm not saying it's like definitely like this team is way better and this team is. It's funny that the Panthers actually get worse. The Panthers actually be 1-9 if you flip every 1-score game, which is impressive.
That team's bad, dude.
Yeah, it is fun, but yeah, at the end of the day, it is because there is something to be said about the ability to close games. Like you said, I think it's coaching. It's the clutch gene in players, and also one score is a 1 point game is very different from. And if they use 8 point games, that's stupid.
Well, let's go back to just really quickly on this. Kevin O'Connell, right? Remember a couple of years ago, they won every single one-score game, and they lost almost every single one. Well, now they're back to winning almost just every game in general.
Right.
I think it's time to talk about how good of a head coach Kevin O'Connell is. Yeah. I think that really needs to be in the conversation. You're doing all this with Sam Darnold at quarterback. There is some regression coming from him, as we've seen, but I don't know if there's been enough love for Kevin O'Connell. Again, kind of going back to the one-score games, if I'm going to talk about how good coaching and how much that matters in one-score games, I got to tip my cap to Kevin O'Connell.
I agree. Okay, let's talk about the Chiefs. No longer undefeated. As a Chiefs hater, this really sucks because no matter what happens in that game, like Chiefs fans are going to be happy because I already know what you're going to say. You're going to say you're kind of glad they lost the game. Now the perfect season's out the window. Mm-hmm. And then you're also going to say, who cares about losing to the Bills in the regular season? We'll beat them in the playoffs.
Yeah, you nailed it.
Yeah.
And I knew it was going to happen.
Like, I can't even be happy about a Chiefs loss because you guys are celebrating the loss.
And I know that what happened was you bet on the Chiefs.
I did.
And when you did, I said the Chiefs are going to lose. It's going to happen. If Iain bets on your team in this situation, if you fight like when you bet on the Bengals, you knew it was going to happen. You got to stick with your guns. You're a Chiefs hater. You're a Bengals hater. Stick with it. The second you join that side, they're going to now lose. So
because I am ultimately right in all of my opinions, is what you're saying. Correct. But I don't stick with them long enough.
Stick with your guns, dude.
Right.
And yeah, Matthew says Chiefs are still the number 1 seed. They are. It makes their road a little more stressful, right? If they would have beaten the Bills in this game, 1 seed's pretty much locked up at this point.
Yeah.
There's no one really within. You have the Steelers, I guess, technically, but you still have a advantage there. But tip your cap to the Bills. Man, they played a good game. They had a really good game plan. And honestly, a lot of folks that have talked, a lot of Bills fans and stuff, they all said the same thing. It was like, it feels good, keeps you in the 1 seed hunt, but eventually you have to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs. It was a lot of just back and forth, like mutual respect between the two fan bases post game is what it felt like, at least on the stuff that I saw, which was nice to see. Mahomes still threw an inexplicable interception to start the game. I don't know where that's coming from. The deep ball is still not being used correctly with him and Xavier Worthy, who they got going early in the game, but Xavier, once again, could not keep his feet in bounds. Now, Mahomes did not have to throw it so far to the sideline. It would have been a touchdown if he threw it a little more upfield. Still, Xavier needs to come down with that ball. Chiefs defense finally gave up more than 28 points in a game for the first time since the Eagles game in the Super Bowl. Not last year, the year prior. So Chiefs defense, a little bit
They didn't give up more than 28 points in a single game last year?
Nope.
Nice.
But a lot of concern in regard to the Chiefs CB2 with Jalen Watson obviously going down with injury. But yeah, overall, you tip your cap and say the Bills had a good game plan. Using a spy on Patrick in obvious third down situations, smart play. There's a 3rd and 4 early in the game where Mahomes was about to take off and run and pick it up, and the Bills had a spy on him. And you know how you're so used to, I know because you always bet against KC. He always picks those up. Well, he didn't.
Yeah, and I've talked about the Chiefs on third down specifically the past couple of weeks. Yeah. And a big part of that is Mahomes just getting it himself.
And they were still decent on third down. They were 5 of 10 in this game.
Yeah.
They were 3 of 3 scoring touchdowns in the red zone. The issue was the Bills were, 9 of 15 on third down. They were also 3 of 4 in the red zone. The Bills just played a really good game. Tip your cap.
Yeah, and so now Josh Allen is the MVP favorite. Do you think that's deserving? I mean, it was a perfect scenario for Josh Allen MVP bettors or Bills fans because Lamar Jackson did not look good. Lost to the Steelers. Now they're, 4 losses on the season, 5 losses on the season. Josh Allen looked fantastic, beat the undefeated Chiefs. And now the Bills are looking like, a potential number 1 seed in the AFC.
Yeah, I think that's the case. Because he was the reason they won that game.
Yeah.
Everyone knew he was running that football on that 4th and 2. Everyone knew it. I don't know if the Chiefs players somehow didn't know. I don't know if Spagnuolo didn't know. But everyone knew that they were running the football with Josh Allen. and he still was able to not only pick up the first down, but bully his way for a touchdown. Josh Allen was electric in that game. He's doing it with his wide receiver one having a broken hand. No Dalton Kincaid. Now, I mean, again, the Chiefs have excuses as well, a lot of injured players, but I've been very impressed with Josh Allen because going into this season, what was the narrative? The Bills are taking
a rebuilding year, is like a down year for the Bills. It was supposed to be
100%. It was,
yeah,
and that's not been the case, and that's been
they've looked as good as ever.
Mostly because Josh Allen, he had a couple game stretch where interceptions were an issue. He threw a brutal one in this game as well. But for the majority of the season, he's really cut back on the dumb decisions. He's been outstanding. And if you want to say Lamar, I get the numbers are great. But at some point, you got to win big games. At some point, if you're the most valuable player, you're the most valuable player. You're the quarterback. You're the MVP. You got to win against good teams. I don't give a hoot about you beating the Panthers. I don't care about you blowing the doors off of a bad team.
Well, quick objection. And this is going to, not to interrupt you, but it kind of feeds into your point. It's crazy how much the MVP race is determined by what happens late in the season. Because let's not forget, week 3, the Ravens beat the Bills 35-10. Josh Allen looked like crap, and Lamar Jackson looked amazing. But that game, people forget about that game now because it's too long ago.
100%.
If that game happened in week 16, Lamar Jackson would be MVP.
Sure. But that's how Lamar won last year because his final 3-game stretch.
Right. Correct.
It's part of how it works.
Yeah.
Again, the Ravens were starting that to take off at that point after starting off 0-2. Weren't they 0-2 to start off 2?
Yeah.
They started to take off.
The Chiefs and the Raiders.
So there was like, okay, now the ship has
week 4 that Ravens played.
You're good. You're golden now. Yeah, but the Bills keep winning. They're 8-2. They're in legit contention for the 1 seed. The Ravens have 4 losses. Like at some point, it's like, okay, you got to consistently do it, man. It's the reason why Joe Burrow has been outstanding, but you don't hear people talking about him for MVP. You have 7 losses. Again, it's not all his fault, but at some point, it does matter. And Jared Goff, I think, deserves some credit. He's had one just atrocious game. That 5-interception game just killed him. If he did not have that game, if that was 3 interceptions, I'm probably still saying Jared Goff.
Well, it also hurts the Lions that they have such an effective run game.
Yeah.
Like the Bills aren't just like they have a decent run game, but they're not crushing people with the run game. Ravens have a very good run game, but obviously Lamar Jackson is part of that. The Lions, it's like Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery are kind of their own separate thing.
I was just so impressed with Jared Goff's efficiency.
Right.
That
when you throw 5 interceptions.
It's kind of hard to.
Yeah. Sticking with awards, though, quietly, what we thought one race was done, locked up, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Bo Nix is kind of in the mix now. Nick's in the mix. Now, the odds are still Jayden Daniels -600, Bo Nix +400. But I mean, and it's the same thing with these awards. Every award, the last 5 weeks of the season are by far the most important. People forget about early season. And Jayden Daniels is trending in the wrong direction, and Bo Nix is trending in the right direction.
Well, the issue is I have not looked up the Washington schedule yet, so you can correct me if I'm wrong. The Broncos have a really difficult stretch to end the year. It's a lot more difficult than the beginning. But Bo Nix is looking legit. Bo Nix he's looking like, okay, you got your guy. I didn't believe in Bo Nix.
Credit to me for being a Bo Nix guy.
I will credit you for being a Bo Nix guy because I was not. I was a Jayden Daniels guy. I said Jayden Daniels 1-1. Daniels has been great. But Bo Nix is progressively getting better as the season goes on. That's also something to monitor. I've been impressed. I think if you're going to throw money down at this point, if you probably should on Bo because of the odds. You're not throwing out Jayden Daniels with -600. That's a bold move, especially for a guy who runs a little more often than Bo. Bo still runs a good amount, but maybe not quite as much as Jayden. The injury concern is always going to be there. The guy I'm frustrated about who's getting no love, and I get why, Ladd McConkey. Ladd McConkey's probably going to go over 1,000 yards easy this year, on pace for about 8 touchdowns, and he will not even be near Rookie of the Year. It's a bummer.
Well, I think Brock Bowers would be the third option right now. Brock Bowers, I know he's on the Raiders, so no one really pays attention, but he just had 12 catches.
Great call, dude. That game he had was insane.
Yeah.
Insane. The reason why I'm upset by Ladd was I put $5 before the season started on him for offensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, he was both our kind of dark horse pick. Yeah.
And he's done great. I mean, we weren't really wrong. It just the quarterbacks have been great, and then Brock Bowers has been
historically great.
Yeah,
for a tight end. But yeah, to your point, Jayden Daniels' rest of the season schedule is much easier. 2 games against the Cowboys, game against the Titans, game against the Saints, game against the Falcons. I mean, the Titans' defense is okay. That's still a home game. Really, the only really good defense he has to face is the Eagles the second time. He'll throw for 600 yards against the Falcons, at least.
If not more.
If not more. Might throw for literally 1,000 yards against the Falcons. So.
When do I get my apology from all the Falcons fans? Like, I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting on that. Remember that episode when everyone ripped on me?
Sterling, we've had this conversation. No matter what happens this season, you're wrong because you said the Falcons don't have any great players. You said they have good players, not great players, which is incorrect. Even if it's elite, we have elite players. We just only have a few of them.
You have Bijan Robinson.
Elite. Drake London. Elite.
No, he's not. If you think Drake London's elite.
Jesse Bates. Elite.
Jesse Bates would probably fall in that category. You have 2
Chris
players.
Lindstrom. Elite.
Dude, you said Drake London.
He's elite.
No wonder the Falcons are so bad. They think Drake London's elite.
So how many receivers are elite in the NFL? 2? Because he's a top 5 receiver.
No.
Yes.
No, you did not say Drake London is a top 5 receiver.
That's what I said. He's probably number 5. So, but in front of him, we got Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson,
Amon-Ra St. Brown, Cooper Kupp, AJ Brown, Garrett Wilson. Mike Evans is still somehow better than him. I mean, Tyreek Hill.
We're getting crazy now.
This is absurd. What are we
Jamar Chase,
doing
Justin
here?
Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then it's probably Drake London, number 4. So, no matter what happens with the Falcons, you were wrong when you said that they don't have any elite players, which I just named off 4 right there. Also, Kirk. Never mind. I'm not going to say about Kirk Cousins.
What?
No, wait. No.
You have a safety, a guard, and a running back that are your best players, not a receiver. That's a great way to build a team.
All right, let's just talk about the Falcons now since we're here. I think the Falcons are going to lose the NFC South. I think if I were to recommend a bet to place right now today, you can bet on the Buccaneers. The one sports book I looked at, the 4-1, you might get a better price. The Buccaneers are probably going to win the NFC South. Because right now, the Buccaneers, the rest of the schedule, and the Buccaneers are coming off their bye. They are 4-6.
Yes.
4-6 coming off their bye. They have the Giants, the Panthers, the Raiders, the Chargers, the Cowboys, the Panthers, the Saints. They might go 6-1. I think the only game they're going to be underdogs in is going to be the Chargers. That's going to be a tough game for them.
Well, and what's wild with Tampa Bay, they're 4-6 with a positive point differential. They had that stretch they lost, was it 4 straight games against really good opponents? It was like the Vikings, the Chiefs, the 49ers, and each game came down to the wire. They're losing by 1 point, 2 points, 3. I mean,
it was the Ravens, Falcons, Chiefs, 49ers.
Yeah, I mean, that stretch right there. I've been very impressed with Baker Mayfield. No one's talking about it because they are 4-6, but you're right. That is a dark horse bet. That Buccaneers team is, in my opinion, a lot better than their record indicates. I think New Orleans might be a little better now. Derek Carr's back.
Yeah, it's too little too late for them, though.
I think it's too little too late because they have one more loss. They've played one more game. They're 4-7.
And the Buccaneers schedule is unbelievably easy. Like I said, 6-1 is certainly in the picture. If they get to 6-1, that's 10-7 on the season. That means the Falcons, thank God the Falcons have a tiebreaker against the Bucs. The Falcons, the magic number for the Falcons is 10. So they got to win. They got to go 4-2 in their last 6 games. Now, thankfully, they have 3 easy games, the Raiders, Giants, and Panthers. Let's assume the Falcons win all 3 of those games. Certainly not it's possible they lose. Giants at home, Panthers at home, Falcons on the road in Las Vegas. So that means they got to squeak. If they want to win the division, they basically have to squeak a victory against either the Chargers, the Vikings, or the Commanders. Probably not going to happen. They're going to go 3-3, finish 9-8, and the Buccaneers are going to win the division at 10-7. And they might not even they might lose to the Raiders. They might go 0-6, so it might not even matter.
They've been a very disappointing team for the most part, this Falcons team. I mean, honestly, for how easy their schedule is, or at least was. I mean, that game against the Broncos, maybe I'm looking too much into it, but that's just brutal. Then you lose to the Saints. You know, I get Derek Carr's back, but no Chris Olave. I've just been very disappointed in this Falcons team, which is why I think I deserve my apology.
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. I mean, 38-6 to the Broncos. You let Bo Nix, which I'm a Bo Nix guy, but this Broncos offense hasn't exactly been lighting the league on fire, and Bo Nix went 28 of 33, 307 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Javonte Williams averaged 6.6 yards per carry.
Dog.
What are we doing?
Javonte Williams got 1 carry against Kansas City. 1. They scored 14 points.
The Falcons defense is bad already, and then they were extremely... I didn't realize, and this is on me, I didn't realize how banged up their defense was heading in this week. No Mike Hughes. Like, already our secondary's thin, and we had no Mike Hughes this week. It was a recipe for disaster.
I'm not going to lie. I'm sorry. Mike Hughes has actually been a pretty solid player since he's got to Atlanta.
Probably better than A.J. Terrell. He's probably been our best corner.
Yeah. It makes me laugh so much because Mike Hughes has bounced around now a lot in the NFL, right?
Well, career resurgence.
It actually has been, though.
Yeah.
But he
disrespect Mike Hughes.
Was he a first-round draft pick of like Minnesota? He came to Kansas City, and he was okay in Kansas City. We're like, look, it's a first-round draft pick, and he was okay.
First-round draft pick to Minnesota, yeah.
Yeah. It's just a very funny career trajectory. I'm not... Mike Hughes has had a very nice resurgence in Atlanta. So this is not... It just makes me laugh as a Chiefs fan if you said... You're missing Mike Hughes, like that name. You're missing a CB3. You're missing a guy who the CB4, a guy the Chiefs cut or just didn't bring back. That's why it's funny. He's been really good in Atlanta.
Yeah, he has not been a CB3 this season.
No. Of course he hasn't been. He's been really good.
Right.
Mike Hughes deserves a lot of credit for, again, revitalizing his career.
Right.
But just if you are a Chiefs fan and you hear the name Mike Hughes and someone says, yeah, we're missing a really big piece on our defense, we're missing Mike Hughes, it sounds hilarious.
Sure. Yeah. Did the Falcons get a sack yesterday?
Have they had a sack this season?
So I know heading into this week, there's been one team in the Super Bowl era of teams who have 9 or fewer sacks in their first 10 games, and that one team is the 2024 Falcons. Like, our pass rush is literally historically bad. Like the worst pass rush of all time.
I was told Matthew Judon was also elite.
He had a good season a couple of years ago.
That was my point.
Yeah. It didn't work out.
Falcons fans, I need that apology. Pin it.
I just want to see. I want to quickly see if they did get a sack. Did they? I don't know. I hope so. Sacks. We got 1 sack yesterday. No, wait, hold on. Wait, is this sacks against us or sacks for?
Do you not have to look up box scores?
No, I'm confused by this box score. We got 1 sack yesterday. Judon, there we go. The big trade coming through for us. Matthew Judon got a sack for us yesterday. How about that?
You only lost 38-6 instead of 41-6. Nice.
Yeah, there you go. Now we're up to 10 sacks on the season through 11 games.
Huge.
The NFC West is completely wide open. What's wrong with the 49ers? Hunter, I know earlier said 49ers have given up the second most points in the league under 2 minutes in the fourth quarter. The 49ers might just be bad. Maybe I was wrong last week. I said I'm investing in the 49ers. Maybe that was a mistake.
I try to pump the brakes for you. I said I think I get where you're coming from, but I was not as bullish as you. You were all in.
Well, what was their net yards per play in this game?
You are going to get destroyed by net yards per play.
0.0.
Not great, Bob. Yeah, dude. We're getting fooled.
mean, they're another team that's just losing coin flip games, though. Every single week. Every single coin flip game they lose. They're the Bengals of the NFC.
They can beat any team, but they can lose to almost any team. I mean, Juwan Jennings is all of a sudden their wide receiver one. At least that's a guy who's Brock Purdy is looking towards. It feels like Deebo Samuel hasn't done a ton this year. Maybe I'm wrong, Hunter. You can correct me. Ayuk's been injured or ineffective. But Deebo just looks, I don't know if they're not using him.
Yeah, tough rest of the schedule. At Green Bay, at Buffalo is our next 2 games. Bears, that's a win at least. At least you can beat the Bears. Rams, tough but non-possible. At Dolphins, tough but non-possible. Home to the Lions, and then at Cardinals. So, I mean, at least probably 3 losses in there.
Yeah, I know no Kittle last game.
No Kittle hurts.
At some point, injuries happen to every team. That's just excuses. Like, congrats. I'm not taking a shot at you. It's just, yeah, and you're right. 100 points out here. They're so top-heavy. That's the issue, is the depth. They don't have the depth of other teams.
And now at 5-5, wild card almost seems out of the picture for them. So it's either like you got to win the NFC West or you're not going to get in. So you kind of have to now bank on the Cardinals imploding a little bit, which is possible. Also, you need to bank on the Rams not getting hot or the Seahawks getting hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the NFC West is wide open. 6-4, and the rest of the 3 teams are 5-5. I don't think I've ever seen a division from top to bottom be this wide open. Like, I've seen obviously close divisional races, but this is even the last place team is 5-5.
Well, what's funny is I think all 4 teams are, you want to say good? Like, I think all 4 teams are at least solid.
Yes, I think all 4 teams are good. None of them are great, but they're all good.
Yeah, they're all really solid teams with different identities. Most of them are actually offense first. But, yeah, all are solid teams, but none really stand out. I don't know who has the Niners have the highest upside when healthy, right? But the Cardinals' offense is humming. When they're on, they're on. Kind of the same, though, with the Seahawks and the Rams. If the Rams can stay, I mean, Puka Nacua feels like every single game goes out with an injury, then comes back, goes out with an injury, then comes back. They just got to stay healthy.
And the Arizona Cardinals, I think, have all the tiebreakers because I think the Arizona Cardinals are undefeated in the division right now. Am I wrong?
Let me check.
Because they definitely beat the 49ers. They definitely beat the Rams.
Hey, who told you about the Cardinals? Who told you?
You did. They were your dark horse. Yeah, they're 2-0 in the NFC West right now. They still got Seahawks twice and Rams and 49ers to finish the year. And they're 2-0
I'm apparently very good at picking dark horses. Last year's the Texans. This year's the Cardinals.
Yep.
Let's go, baby. Let's ride.
Really quick, because I know we're a little bit behind here. We're going to get to Monday Night Football, but are the Steelers Super Bowl contenders?
Yes.
I think we said that last week, right? I think we said if they win, then now we kind of need to consider them Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah, we said if they win, and they won. I know it wasn't the prettiest game, but that's what they do. They make you play in the muck. Russell Wilson threw a couple of just gorgeous moon balls to George Pickens. They can run the football. Again, they do the little things. I've been very impressed with this Steelers team. I did not expect this at all. Their defense just finds ways to grind you down and get it done. Derrick Henry had that, 31-yard rush?
Mm-hmm.
I know you don't take that away because that's part of what he did. But if you do, just take that one carry out, oh my gosh, Derrick Henry was doing nothing and he fumbled. They just destroyed Lamar. They got in the head of the receivers. I mean, that final play, the 2-point conversion, no one was even open on the left side. No one even ran a route over there. This Steelers team is very impressive to me. They're not traditionally excellent, but they're old school excellent. And in today's NFL, that physicality can win you a lot of football games. I will say, yes, they are a legit Super Bowl contender.
I will say I flipped on the Steelers side and it worked for me because I finally bet the Bengals this week, lost. Finally bet the Chiefs, they lost. I finally bet the Steelers, and they did hold true and won, even though they played a team that I didn't think they were as good as. I will say the Steelers now, I think, are on the upper echelon of that second tier, but they still, and it's kind of just based on their schedule. It's not really their own fault because they haven't played against an elite team this season. But they do late in the season. They got the Chiefs on Christmas. They got the Eagles on December 15th. So I know last week I said if they beat the Ravens or Super Bowl contenders, I kind of need them to see them at least play, because there is an upper echelon.
So you're a liar.
I guess I am. Yeah.
Okay.
But I think we firmly established the upper echelon in the NFL. It's the Bills, the Chiefs in the AFC, the Lions and the Eagles in the NFC, and they have not played any of those teams. So if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. The Ravens, I guess the Ravens were, but then because they lost the Steelers, now they're kind of not.
When it comes to that game against Kansas City for the Steelers,
yeah,
I don't know how much I'm going to take from that, because for both those two teams,
it's a short week.
It's 3 games in 11 days for both teams.
Yeah.
3 games in it's like 10 or 11 days.
10. December 15th, 21st, and 25th.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just going to say, I'm telling you straight up, I'm not going to take much from that game.
Yeah.
It's just a horrendous schedule. I mean, I'm not complaining for Kansas City because they have to go through it. The Steelers have to go through it. I believe the Texans have to go through it. And I believe the Ravens have to go through it.
Yes.
I don't know why the NFL is like, you know what? 4 teams who are probably going to be in the playoff hunt when the season's coming to an end. Let's throw all 4 of those to 3 games in 10 days. Let's have chaos.
Yeah, for ratings.
Yeah, but injuries galore is what I'm hoping doesn't happen. But like 3 games in 10 days, there's no recovery time. It's
right.
You're dumb.
You're saying no matter what happens, you're not taking much away from it.
No,
even if the Chiefs win big, you're not.
If the Chiefs win big, I'm not going to say the Steelers are some. Right. It's not a facade. It's no. I'm not going to glean much from that.
I agree with what you're saying. I just got to really say we don't need to spend any time on this, but Bears continue to be the Bears. Jets continue to be the Jets. As much as it sucks being a Falcons fan right now, at least I'm not a Bears fan. At least I'm not a Jets fan.
Yeah, Bears. My goodness.
Jets win, need to just not let Anthony Richardson go down and score a game-winning touchdown. They do. Bears have not really a chip shot, but what was it? 30-something yard field goal to beat the Packers, blocked.
Yeah, they play that very conservatively. I never understand when teams do that.
Right, they just assume the field goal is like.
It was like no, I think it was like a 40. I think there was a 4 in front of it.
Right, they just assume if the field goal is going to be made.
Yeah, I hate when announcers say take the points. Because nothing's free. It's not like it's a take the points button. It's not like you're like, oh, yeah, I'll just take the points.
Correct.
It's so dumb. It's misguided. It's absurd. And then that situation always grinds my gears if I'm a fan of that team. Why are you settling? Why are you settling for a 40-yarder? Get closer.
Right.
Things like that happen. Did you not just watch the Denver Chiefs game? Like, that just happened the week prior. Yeah, I don't get it, man. And the Jets, that's frustrating. If you're the Colts, though, Anthony Richardson being back and doing that has to at least inspire some confidence.
Their game plan looked completely different. That looked like an offense that was built for Anthony Richardson as opposed to what we saw the first 5 weeks of the season.
Yep.
Lions score 52 points against the Jaguars, just did not take their foot off the pedal whatsoever. Are you ready to say the Lions are the best team in the NFL?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. They're favorites now. Super Bowl favorites, Lions are for the first time. They have surpassed the Chiefs.
I mean, I get it. I'm surprised. Is Doug Peterson not fired yet?
No.
I'm sure we'll get some news today. But that team's bad in Jacksonville. Don't get me wrong. That's still an NFL team. The Lions, at will. On the ground. Not just efficient, but explosive. With 2 guys. Through the air, not just efficient but explosive with Jamison Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown, obviously Laporta as well. They're just so deep. They're not the Niners where they're just top heavy. They're top heavy with depth. Their offensive line is probably the best in football. Aiden Hutchinson goes down, and that defense is still elite. I'm so impressed with this Lions team.
Yeah, they seem to be the team to beat. At this point in the season, for sure. Just no holes. Good everywhere. All right, Monday Night Football. The Battle of Texas. Preseason, this game would have looked a lot more than it looks now. Because now, obviously, the Cowboys are a disaster. No Dak Prescott. It's Cooper Rush. So, as a result, the Texans 7.5-point road favorites over under 41. I don't think we need to spend a ton of time on this game because it's kind of sucks.
The only way the Cowboys can stay in it is if they get a lot of pressure, which they can because the Texans' offensive line is just decimated. They're brutal. I said until the Texans get that offensive line fixed, which I don't know if you can during the season, I'm sitting here going, they're not going to be a contender for me. They're not going to be in that, maybe even in that secondary tier. They're very talented, a lot of weapons, but that offensive line is brutal. So if you're a Cowboys fan, you get pressure up the middle, you get a lot of pressure on Stroud, you can hang in this game. You really can.
But the Texans defense is very good. So like neither team might not score.
Yeah, I like the under personally in this one.
Yeah.
If I was gonna be a betting man, which I'm gonna be, I'll take the under.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else that needs to be said. Touchdown score. We were doing this at the start of the season for Monday Night Football. We got off it. Let's get back on it. Name a touchdown score for tonight.
Dalton Schultz plus 225, tight end for the Texans, former tight end for the Cowboys, revenge game. The reason why I like him is he has 0 touchdowns this year. You're saying, well, then that means they're not looking for him in the red zone. But traditionally, he's been a 5, 6, 7, 8, 5, 6. Like he's always in that range for touchdowns in a season. So for me, I'm betting the regression to the mean positively here. So I think they're going to look towards Dalton Schultz's game in a revenge game for him.
I like that bet quite a bit. I'm going dark horse. I'm going to try to pronounce his name. Ogunbowale. What's his first name? Just spell Dare. It's not Dare Ogunbowale. Dare?
I always just call him Dare.
Okay, maybe it is Dare.
I have no idea. I've been wrong many a time. I just try to not pronounce that name.
I think I nailed the last name. The first name, even though it's spelled a lot more simply, like I can't just be Dare, is it?
I think it's Ogunbowale, right? Is that what you said?
Ogunbowale. Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think that's nailed.
Plus 650 for the Texans, the backup running back. Joe Mixon obviously is the primary back. He's going to get the large majority of carries, but they might get up so much, the Texans in this game, that they want to rest their starters late in the game, put in Ogunbowale, and the Cowboys run defense, by the way, also completely stinks. So I do think if they're up in the second half, they rest Joe Mixon because he's obviously a big weapon for them. Put in Ogunbowale. They're going to run the ball. They're going to be up. The Cowboys run defense, probably the worst in the NFL, plus 650 as a dark horse bet, 6.5 to 1.
No Dameon Pierce.
Dameon Pierce, I think he's number 3 though, isn't he?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you can bet Dameon Pierce, and I think he's like 8 to 1 if you want to go even crazier. I think their second guy is Ogunbowale. I used to be a big Dameon Pierce guy.
Yeah, me too.
All right, that's the show. Any final thoughts, Sterling?
Oh, man. Mizzou, you let me down. I can't wait for when I die to have them be my pallbearer so they can let me down one last time.
Speaking of Mizzou, Drew Lock not starting. We were talking last week of Drew Lock. It is Tommy DeVito.
That is the... What?
Yeah, they announced that right before we went live. Tommy DeVito is starting for the Giants. Yeah.
What are the
Tommy Cutlets is back, baby.
They're the Giants. That is why you stay the Giants. Yeah, I mean, you know the quarterback who's played in the NFL and who's had a lot of upside, whose arm.
Oh, is Lock hurt? Is that why?
Is Drew Lock hurt? Oh, that would change things.
That would be the only thing that would make sense. Either that or they're purposely just trying to lose.
Correct. Is Drew? I'll look it up really quickly. Drew Lock.
I mean, all the articles are saying it's a surprising decision.
Yeah, I don't see him being injured.
No, I hadn't seen anyone say that he's hurt. And these articles make me think that people are just surprised. I mean, maybe he is hurt and it's just not public information, but yeah. I think they're just trying to purposely lose.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. All right, Tommy Cutlets, week, what is it coming up? Week 12. We'll be back Wednesday to talk about week 12. Only 13 games this upcoming week here, Sterling. 6 teams on bye, including my Atlanta Falcons. But we will talk about 12 of those 13 games Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern, right here. Be sure to subscribe to Stack in the Box on YouTube. Sign up for an account at Underdog using the code Stack in the Box to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Enjoy tonight's Monday Night Football game, and we'll talk to you on Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern. Bye.